Kia ora, Gentiane.
Hi.
Thanks so much for agreeing to talk to us, an interview about your interesting career in kickboxing and Muay Thai. Here we are at Alpha Gym in Porirua. Welcome, Kia ora. Now, Gentiane, I understand you're an actress and stunt worker before you changed your career to boxing. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, well, Wellington was a great, when I was 20, everyone was out here acting, basically, and did that for a while, loved it, just loved basically getting in a dark room and coming up with jokes and devising great scripts and work like that. And then I fell in love with someone and ended up having children, surprise. So my life took quite a turn there. I became a mother, so I like doing things quite full on, so I left the city, went to the suburbs and got into mumming. I had 3 children under 5 for a while until they grow up, and I just really wanted to be an at-home mum, just do nothing else. Everything else didn't seem to have a purpose, so got into mothering. And then, as soon as they started being able to talk and want things, then it became a bit more full on. And I found I really needed headspace because kids just need to know everything at once, 24/7. And I found, all of a sudden I do have my own person and I sort of need to get back in touch with that. So one thing you're allowed to do as a mum is run away. So I went for runs, just short runs because it was really hard at first. And I found that was good, but it wasn't quite enough to get away from the incessant questioning and needs of my children. So my children really drove me into boxing. Someone said, why don't you try punching pads? And there was someone in the gym holding pads, so I punched them, and he said, hey, why don't you go to a gym that specialises in hitting things? And I walked into that gym, and that was, probably the only moment where I've had an epiphany in my life, or where the angels have sung and the stained glass window light has all shone down, and I was like, oh my God, this is insane that people are doing this. I had no idea, and I dropped everything else. not dropped, I brought the kids, but I started to get into fighting.
Awesome. So, Gentiane, tell me a little bit about your Muay Thai fighting career.
Okay, I started late in my life, apparently, although it was perfect timing for me. And so, because I was late, I figured I was only going to get worse and worse, my body. So I decided to pick up as many fights as I could, as fast as I could, which, is maybe not done very often. So I just said yes to everything. I was able to fight very many times. And obviously it's a very small pool of talent in New Zealand, so you can get to the top very fast, and then you can start making yourself, hey, look at me overseas, and then you start picking up more fights overseas, which is obviously, it's my goal anyway, because travel and just cooler. So I started getting a few New Zealand belts, and then worked up to getting a world title belt in Muay Thai, and I picked up boxing as like a side sport because I sort of thought it looked easier because you weren't using your feet, which of course every boxer will hate me for, but yeah, I managed to do well in boxing, did well in New Zealand, and got a pro world title belt in boxing as well. Picked up MMA, did a few fights there, not so great, but fun, and yeah, that's my belt story basically. Yeah. But yeah, in the end, I felt I got so many belts that I cheapened their worth to myself. So now I'm a little bit wary about chasing, like Gollum. You don't want to chase the shiny objects as much as you want to chase the goal, the journey, sort of.
Okay, excellent. Gentiane, so you compete in boxing, kickboxing and Muay Thai, sorry. Yep. Do you have a preferred fighting form?
I would say Muay Thai, just because you get to do the clinching is really fun. Stand-up wrestling, basically. Stand-up wrestling with knees and hopefully some elbows if you get the chance, yeah.
Okay, great. So tell me about your Muay Thai fighting career.
I started pretty late in my life, so I had the attitude of just taking every fight I could and getting every fight I could and jumping up and down and saying, hey, I'll take that. And after my first fight I realised, wow, it's so different being in there than it is watching it. When you watch it, it's just violent and it's just flesh on flesh and you just see the violence, whereas in there it's far more meditative, it's strategic, it's, you know, it's all encompassing, and so that's where I wanted to be. So I just put my hand up for as many matches as I could get, and yeah, there's no real way to simulate the experience you get from fighting. So the more fights you have, just naturally the better you get, the more opportunities you get, and it becomes this very vicious roller coaster where you just have to jump on every opportunity you can. Yeah, like an addiction, it becomes very tunnel focused. The rest of your life sort of falls apart. But as long as you're still chasing that rocket, everything's great. Yeah.
Awesome. So I understand you've won some major titles both here and overseas. Could you talk about that for a little bit, please?
Yeah, I just thought, I saw a picture of some girl with like 3 belts, and I thought, wow, that looks amazing. And then I was like, wow, I wonder if I could get 1 belt. And then after I got 1, I was like, I'll just get another. And then and then it became just a real fun sort of, almost sort of, I don't know, a treasure hunt. I was just like, I'll get that, I'll get that, I'll get that. And I did. And then the more belts I got, the less I valued them, and it was a bit sad in the end because I was just like, wow, you know, I've got 10 of these things, and I don't feel like I'm any better a fighter than I was when I first walked into the ring. So the belt fever for me, sorry, this is not really answering your question, but I stopped chasing them so hard because I got 2 world titles. That sounds amazing, but at the end of the day, it was just another fight. And yeah, I won a title overseas, a boxing, Oceania boxing title. That was great because I always feel more validated as a New Zealander winning something overseas than you do in New Zealand. Sorry, that's just my cultural cringe. Yeah, so I can't remember all the titles I've won, sorry.
So Gentiane, you've kindly donated Museums Wellington a full Muay Thai fight outfit. Can you please tell me a little bit about each item?
Yeah. So the gloves aren't actually the gloves I'd use in a fight because the gloves have to be, you know, make sure there's no bricks or razor blades in them, so they're given by the promotion. But those gloves are the gloves I'd train in. They're lace up purely so that when I'm clinching my teammates, I'm not ripping their ears off with Velcro, so it's just a nice thing to do for other people, really.
So the competition gloves are different then?
The competition gloves, they can be, they're usually tie-up ones as well, but they're all taped up, so they don't undo. Yeah, but usually in the gym we use Velcro gloves because they're easy to get on and off.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
The strings are fine because you just wrap them inside. Then we've got the knuckles, the built-up knuckles. So you just they're to use to protect your hands. They're just basically sports tape built up in layers, and you know everyone's secret herbs and spices recipe, whatever way they think is the best way. Support your wrists if you need extra wrist support, and to well, hopefully make your knuckles a little bit harder or provide something hard in there so the impact's going to be a little bit greater when you do finally make a connection with your opponent.
And that's a packer?
Yeah.
That's the packers, and
yes.
the straps are for
That's the same.
Same.
Yeah, the same thing, all made out of the same thing.
Yeah, sure.
And so some, like boxing, they'll give you a certain amount of tape that you're allowed to use, so you can't use any more than that. So there's some regulations on how much you're allowed to use in some organisations. I really don't pay much attention to the rules because it distracts from the game for me. So I let them do all their rules, and I'll just do whatever people tell me. And what else have I got? I've got a top, so I just wear a bra top. I'd like to wear as less as possible because your skin is oiled up, so it makes it slipperier. So when you do come into contact with people, it's easier to get out of their grip, hopefully, and harder to grip them. And the shorts, a friend of mine was in Thailand at the time and had someone making shorts and said, do you want to personalise a pair? I said, yeah. So I put my name on them, Gentiane Lupi, and then I also put my family's name, my ex-partner, and my 3 children. So they're all on their name as well because, you know, it doesn't take a village, but it does take a big team to get fighters into the ring. It's definitely not an individual sport. It really, really is not. And yeah, even though Muay Thai claimed my relationship, and it does, you know, many others' relationships, we're still a very tight unit, and, you know, obviously I still couldn't fight if my ex wasn't on board because I've got kids to look after and I'm not leaving them anywhere. Yeah.
Oh, great. So how involved have your kids been, Gentiane? Have they travelled with you at all? Or?
Yeah, so in fact, last year we all went to Thailand, my ex as well, my 3 children, to experience that Thai tourism, fighting, style, and the kids have come and trained and spent a lot of their lives in the gym, sleeping and then training, and yeah.
And are they showing an interest in it, like you, or they're just filling time,
They are happy to have it as part of their part of their experience, but it's nothing that I'd definitely not push on top of them.
It's probably good stuff.
It's a fool's game. Don't get into it. It's crazy. It'd be madness to just a lot of pain, no money, and it's a strong addiction.
So on the money front, so you have to, or do you get sponsorship?
No, so if you get a fight anywhere outside your own city, you'll be paid, you and your trainer, accommodation and flights.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in New Zealand, some people have managers that be able to get the money sometimes.
For the fight?
For the fights, yeah. So
winning
a little bit of money for a purse maybe here and there.
Yeah.
Obviously the guys, it's different because they're guys.
Oh, they get more, they earn more.
All the guys earn, yeah.
Oh, they earn? Oh, they can make a living out of it, the women?
I think they can make a living out of it, yeah.
That's interesting.
It's, I mean, let's face it, combat sports is a margin sport. Women are always going to be a margin of that, so there's just nothing there.
So you're not in it for the money then, clearly?
No.
Okay. So you have a day job, obviously, to support this?
Yeah. I have a day job with very, very loving employers, yeah.
Oh, great, that would help, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
They're very supportive of your need more time off to go to Thailand.
Yeah, exactly.
Where have you travelled with your sport? With your Muay Thai?
Just a lot Australia.
Oh,
Australia get us a lot.
Yeah.
I generally lose in Australia, to be honest. Then I trained in China and I fought in Singapore. And that's it, yeah.
So Thailand, have you been to Thailand?
And Thailand,
and Thailand, yeah.
I didn't fight in Thailand.
You just went for the experience?
Trained,
trained, sure, cool. So you find a trainer over there and train under there?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Oh, right. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, it's a very great international community, and Muay Thai is an amazing passport.
Yeah.
It's the best passport I've got because you speak a language where there literally is no gender, no race, no class, no politics, none of the stuff that I really don't like. So you're playing with other people's souls and will.
Okay. So what was the training like in Thailand? Was it different to here? Is it a kind of step up, or are we comparable here?
I got told by one of my trainers that the only difference between Thailand and here, well, not the only difference, but the way people get so good in Thailand is the amount of time they're putting into it. You're training 2 times a day, 6 days a week, 52 weeks a year.
From young as well, eh?
From very young, yeah. So that amount of exposure, and then of course the experience. So you're going to get better training that amount, and with that experience, that wisdom of trainers who have seen it all and have it in their DNA. Yeah.
So Gentiane, tell me about the Wellington fight scene. How active is that, and who's involved?
To me, it feels like it's very active, and in New Zealand, like fighting just seems to be constant. There's so many fight nights. You go to them, and they're packed full of people. I always wonder how many of those people are public, like actual public walk-ins off the street or something like that, because it feels like it's such a tight community and so well supported inside themselves. And I don't know, every time I go to a fight night, I'm like, this just feels like it's on the cusp of getting bigger and bigger. And with things like UFC growing, maybe the world's going to do an about turn and start to embrace the fact that we're just primal humans again, and get out of our heads and back into our bodies. I don't know, but I think it's very well supported. I know if I wanted to fight, every month, that I'd be able to. There are that many opportunities in New Zealand to do it.
Right. But you're not doing that kind of level of fighting anymore?
No, not right now.
Not right now, yeah.
I've had a decompress, and now I'm back on a train.
Decompress as in a break?
Decompress as in a break.
Yeah, sure. So you probably can't.
I tried to give it up, but
you tried to give it up? Oh, really? Actually, I might have read that somewhere in one of your bios.
It's a true fighter.
I tried so hard.
Yeah.
So hard.
Well, you just loved it so much, obviously, when you first
I
found
did.
it.
My life was not as happy. I came back to a class and boom, everything was instantly happier. I was like, oh, why couldn't it have been, I really wanted to do something like cryptocurrency, you know, something just like that makes money. It's a little bit outside the norm, but I tried, and it just doesn't have the highs and lows.
Yeah.
So
It's not just one. It takes a village, eh? It's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
team behind one boxer is
yeah,
incredible.
it's
The
amazing.
training.
Yeah.
Do you find what do you find hard about training? Because I know guys who cut weight is a bit of a killer. Is that also
Cut weight? What's that? Another language here.
It's when you have to get to a weight.
Yeah,
Is that-
so-
Of course.
Because otherwise you walk around at like, you know, you walk around 65, whatever, you want to fight at like 55 because you're going to be stronger power to weight
Of course,
ratio.
you've got more power behind you, eh?
But then there's,
Right.
you know, a lot of that is just water dehydration. That can be very dangerous. And people
shit.
die occasionally, but people die. You're going to die on the roads. People die. We're mortal. But
Do people die in fights?
People die in fights.
Yeah.
Not
Head
often.
injuries? No.
Very, very rare.
Very, very rare.
You'll hear it. I mean, everyone will hear it on the news if someone
Of
dies in a
course.
fight. Yeah, it's not
sure. No,
at all
sure.
common.
Yeah, common. But they might, from losing weight, shedding weight, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gosh, wow.
Yeah. I remember guys just that would be the killer for them, eh? That period where they have to cut
hard.
weight to make,
Cut weight.
Yeah.
and then they have to weigh in, and
And they don't make it.
Well,
They've
yeah.
had too big a drink before. or something.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, you
interesting.
literally dehydrate yourself to a former skeletal
yeah, wow.
version of yourself in 24 hours. You are
And then you have to
pounding people's
fight.
brains in. Yeah.
In that state. Or can you start hydrating again straight away?
You start hydrating.
Ah,
You've got
of
24
course.
hours to hydrate,
Ah, of
but
course,
sometimes you don't make it, and
Wow.
when your brain's dehydrated, it bruises badly. And anyway, it's dangerous. It's still legal, and it's hard to legislate against because how you you can't
No, you
legislate
can't,
against
can't.
it. So either play the game or you don't.
Yeah. So you have to do that obviously? You
I
cut
did
weight?
that. I did that very extremely,
Yeah.
and that's how I was able to fight so many times as well, because my weight, I was able to fight in many different weight categories.
Okay, so you could drop even more weight.
Wow,
Quite-
yeah.
55 to 82,
Oh, right.
really?
Okay.
but I didn't go up to
Wow.
82. I just fought up. But
Oh, yeah.
I would go down to 55, but it was dangerous, and I did end up in hospital.
55 kg. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Ah. Wow.
Not before. I did manage to fight, but afterwards my health deteriorated to the point because I had been
Because you've been
damaging myself so bad. But
So it comes as a
Live
territory,
now,
eh?
yeah.
Do you sort of help train the ones who are fighting at the
Yep.
moment?
So I have just currently left my old gym and just joined this gym here.
Yeah.
So in my old gym I was, because you basically train. There's like civilians who come in to get fit.
Yeah.
That's great. You train with them, and then like there's a fight group, which is just the mad people.
Yeah.
And you know it's got to you. It's a high rotation because no one's in this for long because it's damaging. But you know you've got to have the silverbacks sort of come with all the experience and you know talk to the. It's a great learning circle of old to young and experienced to non experienced.
Okay. So you kind of mentor people, I guess?
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah,
mentor
and
people.
and obviously if you're, you know, women are few and far between in the sport as well. So if you're a woman who's like had some experience and is able to talk to people and not awful to them, they're going to gravitate towards you because
Yeah.
it's just
Absolutely.
nice to have the same sex sometimes as well in an
Yeah.
environment when you're always 5% of the population.
Absolutely. Yeah. So is that why Ruby moved here, do you think? Did they move? Did women follow you here when you moved?
I'm not sure. No, I've only
No,
just moved.
I just moved.
I followed her. No.
she was in town too.
Yeah, she was in Line Pit. A few of those have moved.
Oh, the
We
line
all
pit.
do
Yeah,
move.
yeah, the line pit.
They're all different cultures and they're all different vibes.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's your favourite fighter all time? You know, like.
Okay, my favourite fight that I watch all the time is like Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey, where she, you know, broke her off. She was like Preacher's daughter, and Ronda Rousey was like the Darth Vader, and that was good at the moment. But no, my favourite fight of all time will be, of all time, I'm not very well researched to be honest, but Israel Adesanya is like the greatest gift to fight sports and to New Zealand, and is such an amazing, his fighting is on another league, but his personality and his entertainment value and his trash talking is just Muhammad Ali level. You know, he can take it there and he can back his talk, and he's quite amazing. Good guy.